With the first woman serving as governor of Virginia, we asked a VCU political science professor about what this means for the Commonwealth. VCU Insight reporter Olivia Clark is in the studio with more.
Hello, I'm joined by Dr. Hollie Mann, a VCU political science professor specializing in women and gender in politics, democratic theory, and feminist political thought. Thank you for joining us today, Dr. Mann.
Thank you for having me.
First question, how does an increase in female leadership reflect societal changes?
Yeah, I think there are probably two reasons why we're seeing an increase. Women are running more. Since 2016 and Clinton's defeat and Trump's first victory, we saw a huge kind of influx of women at the state and local and federal national level. I think also women are responding to the current national, political, and state environments. As we've seen Roe rolled back, other reproductive freedoms threatened and restricted across the country, education issues and concerns, gun violence on the rise. These are issues that tend to activate women in politics.
Does female leadership wind up looking different than male leadership?
That's such a great question. What we see when we control for things like party and ideology is that women tend to lead and govern differently, but they often focus on similar sorts of issues. There are some exceptions to that, but women do tend to govern in a more relational, dialogical, bipartisan manner. They tend to focus on coalition building and try to make progress that way.
There are typically fewer Republican women in the General Assembly than Democrats. Can you talk about why this might be?
A couple of reasons why that's the case. I think the first is that Democratic women in primaries win more than Republican women candidates in primaries. In other words, Republican voters seem less inclined to support women candidates at the primary level.
Are there typically policy approaches that women usually take compared to men specifically?
They tend to focus on the same issues, but women also are more inclined to give their attention to and develop policy around things like education, gun violence, reproductive rights, mental health. And so those are kind of care economy issues that women will additionally focus on more than men, and that's true across both parties.
What took Virginians so long to elect a female governor?
Women do in the state of Virginia have historically had a very strong presence in politics, and so it's curious in a way that we have not yet elected a female governor, because women are very present relative to a lot of other states in our state government. I think that there are just simply more men in the pipeline for the governorship, right? Because women have historically been kept out of those power centers, but as they've gained more and more access, we see that women are approaching and now have arrived at that place.
Has Spanberger's rise to power followed a traditional path for female leadership?
I think increasingly there isn't a traditional path for women to leadership in government. It was once the case that women followed they were on boards of education, right? And they were kind of doing that more care economy work, and then they kind of found their way to politics that way. But as women have gained access to traditionally male spaces, both professionally and in government, and in Spanberger's case, right, in the CIA, we see lots of women serving in the CIA, the NSA, the FBI. So in some ways it is unique because it is a first, but in other ways it's not surprising.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We're very happy to have you. Alexis, back to you.
Virginia will see an uptick in female representation. VCU Capitol News Service reporter Carson Neely joins us now with more on how women will represent the state.
Virginia is the 33rd state to elect a woman as governor, and would have been whether a Democrat or Republican won. Governor-elect Abigail Spanberger is also the first former CIA agent to be governor in the country. In Virginia, this is the first time a woman, Ghazala Hashmi, has succeeded another woman lieutenant governor, Winsome Earl Sears. Hashmi is also the first Muslim woman elected to the U.S. to serve in a statewide seat. Women also gained more representation in the Virginia House of Delegates. 41 women were elected this year, a new record high. Democrats overwhelmingly lead with female representation in the General Assembly. Reporting for VCU Insight and the newsroom at VCU, I'm Carson Neely. Back to you, Alexis.